The morning sun of Kepler 442b cast long shadows across the mining colony as Hyunwoo walked through the main street. He had been the governor of this small outpost for 15 years now. The buildings were simple and functional, built from local stone and metal. Nothing fancy, but they did the job. Hyun-Woo was human, but most of the colonists were not. The Vellani were a peaceful people with skin that looked like crystal. Their skin changed colors based on how they felt. Right now, most of them showed pale blue, which meant they were worried. He stopped at the central plaza, where Elder Taemin was talking to a group of younger Vellani. Taemin was old even by Vellani standards. His crystal skin had grown cloudy with age, but his mind was still sharp. The elder's skin was showing deep red streaks, which was never a good sign. "What's the problem?" Hyunwoo asked as he approached. Tae-min turned to him, his skin shifting to purple with worry. "The Keth Empire sent another message. They want our tritanium mines. They say we have 3 days to decide." Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. He had heard of the Keth Empire. They were a race of large reptilian creatures who took what they wanted by force. Their ships were powerful and they did not negotiate. They simply demanded and took. "What exactly did they say?" Hyunwoo asked. A younger Vellani named Da-Yoon stepped forward. Her skin was bright orange with fear. "They said we can leave the planet with our lives or they will take the mines and everything else. They don't care which we choose." Hyunwoo nodded grimly. The tritanium on this planet was rare and valuable. It was used to power the fastest ships in the galaxy. The Keth wanted it badly enough to threaten a peaceful mining colony. "How many ships do they have?" he asked. "The message said they have 20 warships coming," Taemin replied. "They will arrive in 7 days." Hyunwoo looked around at the colony. They had maybe 300 people living here. Half were Vellani, and the rest were humans like himself who had come to work the mines or study the planet. They had no weapons. Bigger than mining tools, they had no warships, they had no way to fight back against 20 Keth vessels. "Have you contacted your homeworld?" Hyunwoo asked the Vellani. Tae-min his skin went gray with sadness. "Our homeworld is too far away. It would take their ships 3 months to reach us. The Keth will be here in 7 days. Hyunwoo thought about this problem as he walked to his office. The building was small but comfortable. He had lived here alone since his wife died 5 years ago. The walls were covered with pictures of the colony's growth over the years. He had watched this place grow from nothing into a thriving community. As he sat at his desk, there was a knock on his door. "Come in," he called. Dr. Ji-hai entered. She was a xenobiologist who had come to study the local plant life 3 years ago. She was smart and kind, and the Vellani trusted her. Her usually calm face looked worried. "I heard about the Keith message," she said, sitting down across from his desk. "What are we going to do?" "I don't know yet," Hyunwoo admitted. "We can't fight them. We can't run fast enough. The Vellani homeworld can't help in time." Ji-hai was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she said, "What about Earth?" Hyunwoo looked at her with surprise. "Earth? Why would Earth help us? This isn't even a human colony. It belongs to the Vellani." "But you're human," Ji-hai pointed out. "And so am I. And so are about half the people here. Maybe Earth would help protect its citizens." Hyunwoo shook his head. "Earth is even further away than the Vellani homeworld. Their ships would take months to get here too." "Not necessarily," Ji-hai said. "I heard that human military ships are much faster than civilian vessels. They have better engines and can make longer jumps through hyperspace." Hyunwoo had not thought of this. He knew that military ships were different from the cargo vessels and passenger ships that usually visited the colony. But would Earth really send military ships to help a small mining colony? Even if they could get here in time, Hyunwoo said, why would they bother? This place isn't important to Earth's government. Ji-hee stood up and walked to the window. Outside they could see Vellani children playing in the street. Their crystal skins sparkled in the sunlight as they laughed and ran around. "Because it's the right thing to do," she said simply. "Humans don't like bullies." That evening the colony council met in the community center. The building was packed with worried colonists. Vellani skin colors ranged from deep red anger to pale blue fear. The humans looked just as concerned. Tay-Min stood at the front of the room and explained the situation again. The Keth Empire wanted their tritanium mines. They had 7 days before the Keth fleet arrived. They had no way to defend themselves. "What are our options?" asked Sang Woo, one of the human miners. "We can evacuate," Tay-Min said. "Pack what we can carry and leave the planet before the Keth arrive." Many of the colonists looked unhappy with this idea. They had spent years building this community. It was their home. "Or we can try to negotiate," added Da-Yun. "Maybe the Keth will let us stay if we agree to work for them." Several people shook their heads. Everyone knew how the Keth treated workers. It would be no better than slavery. Hyun-Woo stood up. "There might be a third option," he said. "We could ask for help." "From who?" asked Sang-Woo. "The Vellani homeworld can't reach us in time." "From Earth," Hyun-Woo replied. The room became very quiet. Many of the colonists looked surprised by this suggestion. "Would Earth really help us?" asked a Vellani named Yoonji. Her skin was showing cautious yellow hope. "I don't know," Hyun-Woo admitted. "But Dr. Jihai thinks it's worth trying." Jihai stood up and addressed the crowd. "Earth's military ships are fast," she said. "Much faster than civilian ships. If we send a message now, they might be able to get here before the Keth arrive." "But why would they help?" asked another colonist. "This isn't their problem." "Because humans don't like it when big groups pick on small groups," Jihai replied. "And because about half of us are human citizens." The colonists talked among themselves for several minutes. The Vellani skin color shifted and changed as they discussed the idea. Finally, Tay-Min raised his hand for quiet. "What would we ask for?" he wanted to know. "Just a few ships," Hyun-Woo said. "We don't need a big fleet, just enough to make the Keth think twice about attacking us." "A show of force," agreed Jihai. "Maybe 1 or 2 warships. That might be enough to scare the Keth away." The council voted. It was not a close vote. Almost everyone agreed that asking Earth for help was their best chance. After the meeting, Hyun-Woo, Ji-hee, and Tay-Min went to the communications building. The equipment there was designed for talking to cargo ships and sending reports to the Vellani homeworld. It was not built for sending emergency messages across the galaxy. "Can this reach Earth?" Hyun-Woo asked the communications officer, a human, named Jun-Ho. Jun-Ho looked at the equipment and scratched his head. "Maybe," he said. "I'll have to boost the signal and route it through several relay stations. It might take a few hours to get through." "Do it," Hyun-Woo said. They worked on the message together. It needed to be clear and simple. They did not want to sound like they were begging, but they also needed to show how serious the situation was. The final message was short. "This is Kepler 442b mining colony requesting assistance. We are a small civilian outpost of 300 people, half human citizens. The Keth Empire is sending 20 warships to take our mines by force. They arrive in 7 days. We have no military defense. We need help. Just a few ships to discourage the attackers would be enough. Please respond if you can assist." Ji-Hai read the message one more time. "Think it's good enough?" she asked. "It has to be," Hyun-Woo replied. Jun-Ho began the long process of sending the message. It would bounce from relay station to relay station, taking several hours to reach Earth. Then they would have to wait for a response. As they walked home under the alien stars, Tay-Min's skin showed faint silver hope. "Do you think they will help?" he asked. Hyun-Woo looked up at the night sky, wondering where Earth was among all those distant points of light. "I don't know," he said honestly, "but I hope so. We're going to need all the help we can get." 3 days had passed since the message was sent from Kepler 442b. On Earth, in the massive Terran Defense Fleet headquarters in Geneva, Admiral Dong-Hyun was reading reports when his aide knocked on his door. "Come in," the Admiral called out. Lieutenant Hu Jin entered with a datapad in his hands. Sir, we received an interesting message from the outer colonies. A mining outpost is requesting military assistance. Admiral Dong Hyun looked up from his paperwork. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had been in charge of Earth's defense forces for 10 years. What kind of assistance? They're being threatened by the Keth Empire, Wu Jin explained. A civilian colony with 300 people. About half are human citizens. The Keth want their tritanium mines. The Admiral's expression grew dark. The Keth Empire had been causing problems for months. They had been testing human space borders, sending scouts near Earth colonies and making demands from weaker species. So far, Earth had avoided direct conflict with them, but this was different. How many ships are the Keth sending? Admiral Dong Hyun asked. 20 warships, sir. The colonists say they have no defense and are asking for just a few ships to discourage the attack. Admiral Dong Hyun stood up and walked to the large window that looked out over the sprawling military complex. Thousands of people worked here, every day, keeping Earth and its colonies safe. He thought about the message from the small mining colony. Get me General So Young and Intelligence Chief Wu Jin in the conference room, he ordered. We need to discuss this. 20 minutes later, the 3 senior officers sat around a large table covered with star maps and tactical displays. General So Young was the head of fleet operations, a woman known for her quick thinking and bold strategies. Intelligence Chief Wu Jin was a quiet man who knew more about alien species than almost anyone else in the galaxy. Tell me about this colony. Admiral Dong Hyun said. Intelligence Chief Wu Jin activated a holographic display showing the Kepler 442b system. It's a joint human-Villani mining operation, he explained. Been running for 15 years. Good relations between the species. They mine tritanium, which is valuable, but not critical to Earth's needs. And the Keth? Asked General So Young. They've been expanding aggressively for the past year, Wu Jin continued. They've taken over 6 smaller colonies in that sector. This would be their 7th. Admiral Dong Hyun studied the star map. What's their usual pattern? They show up with overwhelming force, make demands, and take what they want, Wu Jin replied. Most species just give up rather than fight. The Keth have never faced serious resistance. General So Young leaned forward. Sir, this could be an opportunity. The Keth have been pushing boundaries all over this sector. If we let them take this colony, they'll think humans are weak. They might start targeting bigger human settlements. Admiral Dong Hyun nodded slowly. He had been thinking the same thing. The Keth needed to learn that humans were not easy targets. What kind of response are you thinking? He asked. General So Young smiled. The colonists asked for a few ships to discourage the Keth. I think we should give them exactly what they need. How many ships? Admiral Dong Hyun wanted to know. Well, General So Young said, pulling up fleet deployment charts, the Keth are sending 20 ships. I'd say we should send enough to make sure they understand the message clearly. Intelligence Chief Wu Jin looked at the numbers. The Keth ships are older models, not as advanced as our current fleet. We wouldn't need many ships to handle them. Admiral, Dong Hyun thought about this. The colony had asked for a few ships. In human terms, that could mean different things. A few could be 3 or 4, but it could also mean a small fleet. I want to send a message that the Keth will remember, Admiral Dong Hyun decided, but I also don't want to start a full war. What do you recommend? General So Young brought up a list of available ships. We have the 7th Fleet finishing exercises near the Tau Ceti system. That's only 2 hyperspace jumps from Kepler 442b. They could be there in 4 days. How many ships in the 7th Fleet? Admiral Dong Hyun asked. 12 heavy cruisers, 8 destroyers, 4 carriers with full fighter wings, and 2 dreadnoughts, General So Young replied. Plus support vessels. Admiral Dong Hyun raised an eyebrow. That's more than a few ships. The colonists asked for enough to discourage the Keth, General So Young pointed out. I think this would definitely discourage them. Intelligence Chief Wu Jin looked worried. Sir, that's a lot of firepower for a small colony defense. Might the Keth see this as an act of war? Admiral Dong Hyun thought about this carefully. What if we make it clear that we're only there to protect the colony? No aggressive moves, no attacks on Keth territory, just defense. That could work, agreed General So-Young. And if the Keth are smart, they'll realize they're outgunned and leave peacefully. Who would command this operation? Admiral Dong Hyun asked. General So-Young checked her personnel files. Captain Min Ho of the heavy cruiser Seoul's Pride is the senior officer with the 7th Fleet. He's experienced and level-headed. Good choice for a delicate situation. Admiral Dong Hyun made his decision. Contact Captain Min Ho. Tell him he's being given command of a protection mission. He's to take the 7th Fleet to Kepler 442b and ensure the safety of the colonists. What are his rules of engagement? Asked Intelligence Chief Woo Jin. Defensive only, Admiral Dong Hyun replied. He's to protect the colony and discourage Keth aggression. But if the Keth attack first, he has permission to respond with appropriate force. General So-Young was already sending orders through her communication system. I'll also assign Commander Ye Jin and her stealth ship Busan Shadow to the mission. Having a reconnaissance vessel might be useful. As the officers worked out the details, Admiral Dong Hyun walked back to his window. Earth looked peaceful from here, but he knew there were threats all across the galaxy. Sometimes you had to make a strong response to keep the peace. Sir, said Intelligence Chief Woo Jin, what if other species see this as humans being aggressive, sending a full fleet to protect one small colony? Admiral Dong Hyun turned back to his officers. Then they'll know that humans protect their people and their friends. That doesn't seem like a bad reputation to have. 2 hours later in the Tau Ceti system, Captain Min Ho received his new orders aboard the Seoul's Pride. He was a calm, experienced officer who had served in the Terran Defense Fleet for 20 years. He read the mission briefing twice to make sure he understood. His first officer, Lieutenant Haewon, looked over his shoulder at the orders. A protection mission, sir? The Keth Empire is threatening a civilian colony, Captain Min Ho explained. We're going to make sure the colonists stay safe. Lieutenant Haewon looked at the fleet roster. Sir, isn't this a lot of ships for a protection mission? Captain Min Ho smiled. The colonists asked for help. We're giving them help. Across the fleet, other ships were receiving similar orders. On the carrier Incheon's flight, Commander Kyung-soo was preparing his fighter squadrons. On the destroyer Daigu's Thunder, Captain Seok-jin was checking his weapon systems. Every ship began preparations for immediate hyperspace jump to Kepler-442b. Commander Ye Jin on her stealth ship Busan Shadow received special orders. She was to arrive first and observe the situation. Her ship was equipped with the latest cloaking technology and could gather intelligence without being detected. How long until we reach the colony? Asked her navigation officer. Commander Ye Jin checked her star charts. 3 days if we push the engines. We'll arrive 1 day before the main fleet. Back on Earth, Admiral Dong Hyun was preparing his report for the civilian government. He knew they would ask questions about sending so many ships for one colony. General So-Young knocked on his door. Sir, all ships report ready for departure. Captain Min Ho estimates arrival in 4 days. Good, Admiral Dong Hyun replied. And the Keth fleet? Intelligence reports they're 3 days out from Kepler 442b, General, So-Young said. We'll arrive first. Intelligence Chief Woo Jin entered with updated reports. Sir, we've been monitoring Keth communications. They seem confident this will be an easy victory. They're not expecting any resistance. Admiral Dong Hyun nodded. They're about to learn something new about humans. What's that, sir? Asked General So-Young. Admiral Dong Hyun looked at the deployment orders one more time. When humans promise to help, we don't do things halfway. The next morning, Earth's news feeds reported that a Terran defense fleet had departed for a humanitarian mission in the outer colonies. The reports mentioned protecting civilians from aggressive aliens, but they didn't mention how many ships were involved. In the Tau Ceti system, hyperspace portals opened as the 7th Fleet prepared to jump. Captain Min Ho stood on the bridge of Seoul's Pride watching his fleet form up for the journey. All ships report ready, sir, announced Lieutenant Haewon. Begin hyperspace sequence, Captain Min Ho ordered. Let's go help those colonists, One by one, the ships of the 7th Fleet disappeared into hyperspace, heading for a small mining colony that had asked for just a few ships to scare away some bullies. They had no idea that their simple request had triggered the largest fleet deployment in the sector's history. In a few days, the Keth Empire would learn what it meant to threaten people under human protection. The Keth Warfleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442b system, with the confidence of predators approaching helpless prey. 20 ships arranged themselves in attack formation, their dark hulls bristling with weapons designed to intimidate and destroy. On the bridge of the flagship Bone Crusher, War Commander Vex studied the tactical display with satisfaction. The mining colony showed up as a small cluster of buildings on the planet's surface. No orbital defenses, no military installations, no warships in the system at all. Just as our scouts reported, Vex said to his second-in-command. A defenseless, civilian outpost. Sub-Commander Crack nodded, his reptilian features showing anticipation. The tritanium deposits are extensive according to our surveys. This will be profitable. War Commander Vex was large even by Keth standards. His scaly skin was darker than most of his species, marked with battle scars from years of conquest. He had taken 17 colonies for the Keth Empire without losing a single ship. This looked like it would be number 18. Open a communication channel to the colony, he ordered. On Kepler 442b, the colonists had spent the past week preparing for the worst. Many families had packed their belongings, ready to evacuate if necessary. Others had moved into underground shelters that had been built for mining operations but could serve as protection during an attack. Governor Hyunwoo stood in the colony's communication center with Dr. Jihai and Elder Taemin. They had been taking turns monitoring space around their planet, hoping to see friendly ships arriving. So far, they had seen nothing. Any response from Earth? Hyunwoo asked Jun-ho. The communications officer. Jun-ho shook his head sadly. Nothing yet, sir. Maybe they didn't get our message. Or maybe they decided not to help. Elder Taemin's crystal skin showed deep purple with worry. The Keth fleet has arrived, he said, pointing to the sensor display. 20 ships, just as they promised. Hyunwoo felt his heart sink. He had hoped against hope that human ships would arrive first. Now the colonists would have to face the Keth alone. The communication system crackled to life with an incoming message. War Commander Vex's harsh voice filled the room. Inhabitants of the mining colony, this is the Keth Imperial Fleet. You will evacuate this planet within 6 hours and leave all mining equipment and facilities intact. Any resistance will result in the destruction of your settlement. This is your only warning. The message ended, leaving silence in the communication center. 6 hours, Dr. Jihai said quietly. That's not enough time to evacuate everyone properly. Elder Taemin's skin had gone completely gray, the Vellani color for despair. Perhaps we should negotiate. Maybe they will give us more time if we cooperate. Hyunwoo was about to respond when Jun-ho suddenly looked up from his instruments with surprise. Sir, I'm detecting hyperspace distortion. Something big is coming into the system. The Keth reinforcements? Asked Dr. Jihai. No, Jun-ho said, checking his readings again. These signatures are different, much different. In space above the planet, reality began to bend and twist as hyperspace portals opened. But instead of more Keth ships, something entirely unexpected began to emerge. First came the destroyers, sleek and deadly, their hulls gleaming with advanced armor and weapons systems. Then the heavy cruisers appeared, massive vessels that dwarfed the Keith, warships. The carriers followed, each one larger than the Keith flagship, launching clouds of fighter craft that swarmed around the fleet like angry insects. But it was the dreadnoughts that made everyone stop and stare. 2 enormous ships, each one longer than a city block, emerged from hyperspace with weapons that could level continents. Their engines glowed with barely contained power, and their sensor arrays could track a single fighter across an entire star system. On the Keth flagship, alarms began blaring as the sensor operator counted the new arrivals. 20 ships, he reported in a shaky voice. No, wait, 30. 35. Sir, I count 42 ships total. War Commander Vex stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The human fleet that had just arrived was twice the size of his own force, and their energy signatures were off. The charts. "What species are they?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir," the sensor operator replied. "But their technology appears to be significantly advanced compared to our own." Sub-Commander Crack was studying the weapon signatures. "Sir, those dreadnoughts are showing power levels I've never seen before. And those fighters, there must be hundreds of them." War Commander Vex had built his reputation on always being the biggest threat in any system. Suddenly, he was not even close. On Kepler 442b, the colonists watched in amazement as their simple request for a few ships was answered by what looked like an entire armada. "How many ships is that?" asked Dr. G-Hi.Jun-Ho was counting frantically. "I make it 42 combat vessels plus support ships and fighters. That's not a few ships, that's a fleet." Governor Hyunwoo stared at the display, hardly believing what he was seeing. They actually came. Elder Taemin's crystal skin had shifted from gray despair to bright silver amazement. "I have never seen so many ships in one place." The human fleet arranged itself in a defensive formation around the planet, placing themselves between the Keth forces and the colony. It was a clear message. "If you want to threaten these people, you'll have to go through us first." Captain Minho stood on the bridge of Seoul's Pride, studying the Keth fleet disposition. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Haewon, was analyzing their weapons and defenses. "Assessment," Captain Minho asked. "Keth ships are older models, sir," Lieutenant Haewon reported. "Their weapons are basic plasma cannons and missile systems. Shields are standard deflector arrays, nothing we haven't seen before." "How do they compare to our capabilities?" Lieutenant Haewon ran some quick calculations. "Sir, any one of our heavy cruisers could handle 3 of their ships without difficulty. Our dreadnoughts could probably take on their entire fleet alone." Captain Minho nodded. He had expected as much. Human military technology had advanced rapidly over the past decade, while the Keth had relied on intimidation rather than innovation. "Open a channel to both the Keth fleet and the colony," he ordered. The communication went out on all frequencies, ensuring that everyone in the system could hear it. "This is Captain Minho of the Terran Defense Fleet, commanding the Humanitarian Protection Force. We are here in response to a request for assistance from the civilian colony on Kepler 442b. Keth vessels, you are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately and cease all hostile actions against the colonists." War Commander Vex listened to the transmission with growing anger. No one had ever ordered him to do anything. He was the one who gave orders. "Unknown vessels," he transmitted back. "This system is under Keth Imperial authority. Your presence here is an act of aggression. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Captain Minho expected this response. In his experience, bullies usually tried to sound tough even when they were outgunned. "Keth Commander," he replied calmly, "we are here solely to protect civilian lives. We have no interest in Keth territory or Keth affairs. However, these colonists are under our protection now. Any attack on them will be considered an attack on the Terran Defense Fleet." In the colony's communications center, the colonists listened to the exchange with growing hope. "He sounds so calm," observed Dr. Ji-Hai. "Like he's not worried about the Keth at all." Hyunwoo was studying the tactical display, trying to understand what he was seeing. "Look at the formation they're using. They're not just protecting us. They're surrounding the Keth fleet." It was true. While the main human force was positioned between the Keth and the planet, smaller groups of ships had moved to flank the Keth formation. It looked casual, like ships on routine patrol, but any military officer would recognize it as an attack position. Elder Taemin's skin was now showing flashes of gold, the Vellani color for hope and gratitude. "Do you think the humans can really protect us?" "Look at those ships," Hyunwoo replied. "I think they could protect us from 10 Keth fleets." War Commander Vex was coming to the same conclusion, though it made him furious. His tactical officer had finished analyzing the human fleet composition, and the results were disturbing. "Sir," the tactical officer reported quietly, "their technological advantage is significant. Our weapons might not even penetrate their shields." And their firepower, sir, they could destroy our entire fleet in minutes. Vex slammed his fist on his command chair. Impossible. The Keth Empire fears no one. Sir, Sub-Commander Crack said carefully, perhaps we should consider negotiation. This is not what we expected to face. I don't negotiate with inferior species, Vex roared. But even as he said it, he was looking at the tactical display. 42. Human warships surrounded his 20 ships like wolves circling prey. And somewhere out there, invisible to his sensors, he was sure there were more ships he couldn't even detect. Unknown to the Keth, Commander Yejin's stealth ship, Busan Shadow, was indeed moving through their formation, completely undetected. She was gathering detailed intelligence on their weapons, shields, and communications while staying invisible. Their security is terrible, she reported to Captain Minho on a secure channel. I'm practically flying through their fleet and they have no idea I'm here. Good, Captain Minho replied. Keep monitoring. The 1-hour deadline passed in tense silence. War Commander Vex had spent the time trying to find some way out of the situation that would not damage his reputation. His advisors had suggested retreat, but Vex had built his career on never backing down from a fight. Sir, Sub-Commander Crack said quietly, the humans have kept their word so far. They haven't made any aggressive moves. Perhaps if we withdraw now, we can avoid a battle we cannot win. War Commander Vex's reptilian eyes glowed with anger. The Keth Empire does not run from battles, especially not from unknown aliens who think they can threaten us. On the bridge of Soul's Pride, Captain Minho watched the chronometer count down the final minutes. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Hei Wan, had been monitoring Keth communications and ship movements. No signs of withdrawal, sir, she reported. If anything, they seem to be powering up their weapons. Captain Minho nodded. He had hoped the Keth would be reasonable, but he had prepared for this possibility. Send a final warning to the Keth fleet. Tell them they have 5 minutes to begin withdrawing or we will consider their presence a direct threat to the colonists. The message was transmitted on all frequencies. On Kepler 442b, the colonists listened with growing worry. What happens if they don't leave? Asked Dr. G-High. Governor Hyunwoo looked at the massive human fleet on the display. I think we're about to find out what happens when someone threatens people under human protection. War Commander Vex received the final warning and made his decision. Pride and reputation meant everything to a Keth warrior. He would rather die fighting than live with the shame of retreat. All ships prepare for battle, he ordered. Target their lead vessels. We'll show these humans what Keth warriors can do. Sir, his tactical officer protested, we're outnumbered 2-1, and their technology is superior. This could be suicide. Better to die with honor than live as cowards, Vex snarled. Fire warning shots at the colony. Let these humans know we're serious. The Keth flagship and 2 escort vessels fired plasma bolts toward the planet's surface. The shots were not aimed to hit anything important, just to show that the Keth were still dangerous. That was their mistake. On Soul's Pride, alarms sounded as the weapons fire was detected. Captain Minho's expression hardened. The Keth had just fired on civilians under his protection. All ships, the Keth have opened fire on the colony, he announced to his fleet. We are authorized to respond with appropriate force. I want a demonstration that will end this quickly with minimal casualties. Lieutenant Seok Jin, the fleet's weapons coordinator, had been preparing for this moment. Sir, recommend surgical. Strikes on their weapons and engines. Disable them without destroying them. Approved, Captain Minho replied. All ships, commence limited engagement. Disable Keth vessels, minimize casualties. What happened next would be talked about in military academies across the galaxy for years to come. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination, like a single organism responding to a threat. The heavy cruisers targeted Keth engines with precision, plasma strikes. The destroyers used focused beam weapons to disable Keth weapon systems. The fighters swarmed around the Keth ships, jamming their communications and targeting systems. But it was the speed that shocked everyone watching. In 30 seconds, half the Keth fleet was completely disabled. Engines offline, Weapons destroyed. Communication arrays fried. The ships were still intact and their crews were still alive, but they were completely helpless. War Commander Vex watched his tactical display with disbelief as his proud fleet was systematically taken apart. "Damage report," he shouted. "Sir, the Fang of Keth has lost all engines and weapons," his communications officer reported. "The Blood Drinker is reporting the same. The Night Hunter's main reactor is offline." "How?" Vex demanded. "How are they doing this so quickly?" His tactical officer was studying the human attack patterns with professional admiration. "Sir, their targeting systems are incredibly precise. They're hitting specific components with perfect accuracy. And their coordination, it's like they've practiced this exact scenario 100 times. Sub-Commander Crack was monitoring the human communications channels. "Sir, they're not even using their heavy weapons. Those are just their standard ship-to-ship systems. Their main guns haven't fired a single shot." The implications of this hit War Commander Vex like a physical blow. The humans were disabling his fleet while holding back their real firepower. On Kepler 442b. The colonists watched in amazement as the human fleet demonstrated what modern military technology could do in the hands of experts. "It's like watching adults deal with children," Dr. G. High observed. "The Keth don't even seem to be able to fight back effectively." Elder Taman's crystal skin was showing rapid flashes of silver and gold, amazement mixed with gratitude. In 30 seconds, they disabled 10 ships. How is such precision possible? Governor Hyun-woo was thinking about the broader implications. This isn't just advanced technology. This is advanced tactics, training, and experience. The human military has clearly been preparing for conflicts like this. Commander Ye-jin, still invisible in her stealth ship, was moving through the Keth formation and observing the battle up close. What she saw impressed even her. "Captain Minho," she reported on a secure channel, "I'm watching human weapons hit Keth ships to within centimeters of their target points. We're surgically removing their ability to fight without causing significant casualties." "Casualties report?" Captain Minho asked. "Minimal, sir. I'm detecting some injuries on the Keth ships, but no deaths so far. Their crews are shaken but alive." This was exactly what Captain Minho had hoped for. Earth's orders were to protect the colonists, not to start a war with the Keth Empire. A demonstration of overwhelming force followed by mercy would send the right message. War Commander Vex tried to organize a counterattack, but his remaining ships were having trouble just staying in formation. Human fighters were everywhere, jamming systems and confusing sensors. Every time a Keth ship tried to lock weapons on a human vessel, the target disappeared or moved too quickly to track. "Sir," his weapons officer reported desperately, "I can't get a clean shot on any of their ships. Their fighters are too fast and their larger ships have some kind of electronic countermeasures." "What about their flagship?" Vex demanded. "Concentrate all fire on their largest ship." Several Keth vessels turned their weapons toward Seoul's Pride. But before they could fire, something impossible happened. Commander Ye-jin's stealth ship suddenly appeared directly behind the Keth flagship, less than a kilometer away. Her ship had been invisible until that moment, and now it was close enough to destroy Vex's command ship with a single shot. "Attention, Keth flagship," came Commander Ye-jin's calm voice over the communications. "You are targeting our command vessel while a human warship has you in our weapons sights. I suggest you reconsider." War Commander Vex spun around to look at his rear display. There was indeed a human ship behind him, close enough to see with the naked eye. His sensors had never detected it approaching. "How long has that ship been there?" he asked his sensor operator. "I don't know, sir," came the terrified reply. "It wasn't there a minute ago. Our sensors show nothing." Sub-Commander Crack understood the message. "Sir, they could have destroyed us at any time. That ship could have been behind us for hours and we never would have known." The full reality of the situation finally hit War Commander Vex. The humans were not just technologically superior. They were so far ahead that they could have ended the battle before it started. The fact that most of his fleet was still intact was not because they had fought well. It was because the humans had chosen mercy. Captain Minho opened a direct channel to the Keth flagship. "War Commander Vex, I believe you can see that further resistance is pointless. Your fleet is disabled, and we have demonstrated that we could have destroyed you completely if we had chosen to do so. Vex looked around his bridge at his defeated crew, then at the tactical display showing his crippled fleet. Half his ships couldn't move and the other half couldn't fight effectively. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice heavy with defeat. "We want you to leave this system and never threaten these colonists again," Captain Minho replied. "In return, we will allow your ships to withdraw with honor. We'll even provide repair assistance if needed." The offer of help surprised everyone, including the human crew. Lieutenant Heiwan looked at Captain Minho with questioning eyes. "Sir, are we really going to help repair their ships?" Captain Minho nodded. "Our mission is to protect the colonists, not to humiliate the Keth. If we help them leave with dignity, they're less likely to come back for revenge later." War Commander Vex considered his options. His pride demanded that he fight to the death, but his responsibility to his crews demanded that he accept the human offer. These humans had demonstrated they could destroy his fleet easily, but instead they were offering mercy and assistance. "Why?" he asked. "Why would you help us after we attacked your protected colony?" Captain Minho's answer would be remembered by everyone who heard it. "Because we're not at war with the Keth Empire," he said. "You made a mistake by threatening innocent civilians. We corrected that mistake. Now we can all move forward peacefully." Lieutenant Siak Jin was monitoring the power levels of the human fleet during this exchange. 3 days later, the damaged Keth fleet limped away from Kepler 442b under human escort. True to their word, the humans had provided repair assistance and medical aid to the injured Keth crews. War Commander Vex watched the human ships through his bridge view screen as they maintained a respectful distance, while ensuring his fleet's safe departure. Commander Crack joined him at the observation window. "Sir, the humans could have destroyed us completely. Instead, they helped repair our ships and gave us medical supplies." Vex nodded slowly. His worldview had been fundamentally changed by the encounter. "I've been thinking about that, Crack. They didn't fight us like enemies, they fought us like teachers correcting students." "What will you tell the High Command?" Crack asked. Vex had been dreading that conversation. "How do you explain to your superiors that you encountered a species so powerful they could have annihilated your fleet while using only a fraction of their capabilities? How do you report that these same beings then helped you retreat with honor?" "I'll tell them the truth," Vex decided. "That we found a species that responds to requests for help by sending enough force to reshape entire sectors. And that they seem to consider this normal." On Kepler 442b, life was slowly returning to normal, but with a significant change. The human fleet had not departed after the Keth withdrawal. Instead, Captain Minho had received orders to establish a permanent patrol station in the system. Governor Hyun Woo stood with Admiral Dong Hyun, who had arrived personally aboard a command vessel to oversee the new arrangements. The admiral was an impressive figure, but he spoke with the same calm professionalism that seemed common among human military officers. "Admiral, we never expected such a comprehensive response to our call for help," Hyun-woo admitted. Admiral Dong-hyun smiled. "Governor, when humans receive a call for help, we don't just solve the immediate problem. We make sure the problem doesn't happen again." They were walking through the colony's main street, where Villani and human families were emerging from their shelters and returning to their normal routines. Children of both species played together, their fear forgotten now that safety had been restored. Dr. Ji Hai joined them, carrying a data pad full of observations. "Admiral, I've been documenting the colonists' reactions to the human response. Many of them are still struggling to understand the scale of what happened here." "What do you mean?" Admiral Dong-hyun asked. "They asked for a few ships to discourage attackers," Ji-hee explained. "Instead, they got a demonstration of military capability that has probably changed the power balance of this entire region of space." Elder Tae-min approached their group, his crystal skin showing the warm gold of deep gratitude. "Admiral, on behalf of all Villani in this colony, I want to thank you for your people's protection. But I must ask, why did you send so many ships for such a small place?" Admiral Dong-hyun considered the question carefully. Elder Taimin, Earth has learned that sometimes a strong response prevents many future problems. The Keth Empire has been testing boundaries throughout this sector. By showing them our capabilities here, we may prevent conflicts elsewhere. Captain Minho approached and saluted the Admiral. Sir, the patrol station is nearly operational. We've selected a location that will allow us to monitor shipping lanes and respond to any future threats. Good, Admiral Dong Hyun replied. What's the crew's assessment of our mission here? The crew understands the importance of what we accomplished, Captain Minho reported. Word is already spreading to other systems about the human response. We're receiving requests for information from species across the sector. Dr. Jihai looked up from her datapad with interest. What kind of requests? Commander Ye-jin had approached quietly and overheard the question. Everything from diplomatic inquiries to requests for similar protection agreements. It seems our demonstration has attracted attention from many species who face threats from aggressive neighbors. Admiral Dong Hyun wasn't surprised by this development. Captain, prepare a comprehensive report on the engagement. Include tactical analysis, casualty figures, and resource expenditure. Command will want to study this as a model for future operations. Lieutenant Seok Jin, who had been monitoring communications throughout the system, joined the group with an update. Admiral, we're intercepting increased chatter from multiple species about human military capabilities. The story of our response here is spreading rapidly. What are they saying? Asked Governor Hyunwoo. Mostly expressions of amazement, Seok Jin replied. Many species are recalculating their assumptions about human defensive capabilities. Some are expressing interest in formal alliance agreements. Elder Taimin's skin shifted to thoughtful purple. Admiral, has Earth considered what this means for your people? You've announced to the galaxy that humans will respond to calls for help with overwhelming force. Admiral Dong Hyun had indeed considered this question extensively. Elder, Earth believes that protecting innocent people from aggression is worth the risks. If other species know that threatening peaceful colonies will bring human intervention, then perhaps fewer colonies will be threatened. Commander Ye-jin added her perspective as an intelligence officer. The psychological effect may be as important as the military one. The Keith fleet will carry word back to their empire about what they experienced. That story will spread to other potential aggressors. Dr. Jihai was taking notes on everything. This could fundamentally change how species interact in this part of the galaxy. If everyone knows that attacking civilian colonies might bring human retaliation, it could reduce conflicts significantly. As they talked, Junho approached from the communications center with an urgent message. Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Dong Hyun read the message with growing interest, then looked up at the group. It seems our mission here has already had the effect we hoped for. Intelligence reports that the Keth Empire has issued orders to all their fleets to avoid conflicts with species under human protection. They're backing down, asked Captain Minho. More than that, Admiral Dong Hyun replied. They're apparently revising their entire expansion strategy to account for possible human intervention. Governor Hyunwoo realized the implications. A single response to one small colony's call for help has changed the strategic calculations of an entire empire. Elder Taimin's skin showed flashes of silver amazement. When we sent our message asking for a few ships, we had no idea we were triggering such consequences. Admiral Dong Hyun smiled at the elderly Villani. Elder, that's exactly the point. When humans promise to help, we don't do things halfway. Your simple request for protection has helped establish peace across multiple systems. Over the following weeks, the effects of the human response continued to ripple outward. On the Keth homeworld, War Commander Vex presented his report to the High Command. The reptilian leaders listened with growing concern as he described the human fleet's capabilities. They operated at 12% of capacity and disabled half our fleet, Vex reported. At full power, they could have destroyed every Keth ship in the sector simultaneously. High Commander Zeth, leader of the Keth military, studied the tactical records with professional interest. And they offered us assistance after defeating us? Yes, sir. They provided repair materials and medical aid. Their commander stated they were not at war with our empire, just correcting our mistake in threatening civilians. High Commander Zeth made a decision that would reshape Keth policy. Issue orders to all fleet commanders. Civilian colonies under human protection are off limits. We will not risk confrontation with a species that demonstrates such overwhelming superiority. News of the Keth policy change spread throughout the galaxy, carried by traders, diplomats, and communication networks. Species that had been threatened by Keth expansion suddenly found themselves safer. Other aggressive empires began reassessing their own expansion plans, wondering if they might face similar human responses. On Kepler 442b, the colonists had adapted to their new status as a human-protected world. The patrol station was staffed by a rotating crew of human ships, ensuring constant protection. Trade had increased as merchants felt safer traveling to a system under human military protection. Dr. Jihai was completing her study of the cultural impact when she received an unexpected visitor. A delegation from the Villani homeworld had arrived to study the human response and consider formal alliance agreements. Dr. Jihai, said Elder So-min, leader of the delegation, we need to understand. These humans who answered our colony's call for help with such overwhelming force. What specifically do you want to know? Jihai asked. Everything, So-min replied. How they think, how they make decisions, why they chose to help us. Our homeworld is considering proposing a formal protection agreement with Earth. Similar delegations were arriving throughout human space. The demonstration at Kepler 442b had shown the galaxy that humans took protection duties seriously, and many species wanted that protection for themselves. Admiral Dong-hyun was preparing to return to Earth when Captain Minho brought him one. Final report. Sir, we've received 47 formal requests for protection agreements in the past month. 17 species want to establish diplomatic relations.